everybody. Welcome to the Book Bar. It's Wednesday night, which seems to be our new time until we switch it back next week. I'm Justin. With me, as always, is my brother Tyler. And, of course, joining us tonight for our Book of Boba Fett series, he's slamming something, is our good friend Jeremy over at Templar Pops.
I hope it's not that dog. Wait, what are you talking about?
Slamming the dog? I'm like, Templar.
This is Chewbacca.
Already. Normally, we wait till we get a
show.
little more drunk before we get this dirty, but we're starting off with bestiality right out of the gate. Oh, man. But, hey, it's what has to be done. Guys, we have a finale to talk about today. I'm very excited. Long episode, lots of things happening, lots of stuff to talk about. But first, what's on tap for everybody? What's everybody drinking?
Templar, start with you. What do you got, man?
Mine's almost past tense, but I am drinking world's best boss.
He was drinking last.
Right, he drunk it.
Prior to Imperial Milk Stout.
Nice.
Okay.
7.7% alcohol.
Solid, strong stuff, man.
And it was brewed in Massachusetts. Sorry, Bane. Brewed in Massachusetts, Boston.
What a stab in the back to everyone who lives in your home state. Jesus. What a slap in the
traitorous bastard.
Yep.
Tyler, what are you drinking? Is it another ice cold beer?
Oh yeah, this is a beer, but this is a special beer, Justin. This was given to me by the Queen of America. So
there's no Queen of America.
Are you calling me a liar?
I beg to differ.
We're
on quite intimate terms unless you can prove otherwise. Name that movie. Templar, do you know what movie we're mocking?
I don't get involved in family disputes.
It's best to stay out of it. That's smart.
That's a good response.
The Three Musketeers, of course, a classic. The Three Musketeers.
Dr. Darkside, the Natty Daddy, 8%. Nice. What?
I like that.
Oh man, Sire Speed. What's going on,
buddy? So what about you? What you got on tap, man?
Well, we are talking Book of Boba Fett tonight, and so I thought nothing was more fitting than to have a lighthearted IPA, because the show is very lighthearted and it's very light on Boba Fett, and so I just kind of felt like it just really tied everything together. So
it's perfect.
But on deck, while the lighthearted ale is a little, a little less alcohol, a little less calories, I've got the Big Lake Brewing. Now, see, we live in Michigan. I'm supporting my local brews, brewers.
Some people on this stream not supporting their home states.
I've got the Cotton Candy Haze on deck. Yeah, I knew that would get some ooze. I actually didn't check to see. Alcohol content. So we're just going to assume
it's just liquid cotton candy, but it's delicious.
It does not appear to say. I'm just going to assume it's alcoholic. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah. Makes me want to. You know what I've always wanted to try, but I've never gotten. You ever seen those? What is it? It's like a vodka drink where they put the cotton candy and then they pour the alcohol over top of it. I feel like it look. You've never seen these?
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
Have
like
you seen
they
this?
put
Have you heard
cotton
about
candy.
this?
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Folks, listen here. So yeah, they put cotton candy in the glass and like they pour the alcohol over it, and it looks delicious. But I feel like the cotton candy is just dissolving into almost nothing, and so it's probably just going to taste like whatever you're pouring on top of it. So like if it's a vodka martini, it's just going to taste like straight vodka. So that's why I've never gotten it, but it looks delicious. Like the idea of the cotton candy in there dissolving, it sounds scrumptious, but probably tastes
nice. Well, that's what we're drinking. That's what's on tap, in addition to the Boba Fett finale discussion, which we're going to be having tonight. And just a reminder, we're going to be giving this thing away tonight. And it's right here. It is the Darth Maul Clone Wars 1/7 scale mini bust from the Gentle Giant. Right there. There it is. We're giving this away. Gorgeous. You've got to be here live, and all you have to do is be a subscriber of the channel, and you're going to have to go down in the live stream comments and leave a hashtag BookBarBros. That's it. That's all you got to do. Leave a hashtag BookBarBros. Go down the comments. That's what you got to do. You got to be a subscriber. Subscriber. And then after the show, we'll go through the live stream, see everybody who is there, make sure they're subscribers. And then maybe we'll even, just to make sure people are paying attention, maybe we'll throw out a second hashtag. Maybe halfway through the show. So you've got to put both hashtags in. I think that's smart.
Qualify. Put a little hidden hashtag in there they got to do.
Yeah, so nobody jumps on and is like, hashtag BookBarBros gone.
And this Darth Maul bust is gorgeous. And let me tell you guys, it's a lady slayer. You have that on the shelf. A girl comes over. She's going to see that, and you're going to be like, what, sex already? Because she's going to be so excited. So, yeah, right. So I'm telling you, boom. Just pick that up. It's like a hummingbird feeder for ladies. So a very, very cool gift.
What's going on, everybody that's jumping on? Papa Missouri, what's going on? So the first hashtag is BookBarBros. You want to win the mini bust Darth Maul, hashtag BookBarBros in the live chat. And then at some point, I'm going to give you a second hashtag that you're going to have to put in also. So I'm not going to tell you when. Just
stay tuned.
Even if there's one loyal viewer that hangs on and puts both hashtags in, it's theirs. They're going to got it.
Templar, Templar's dog right there.
You have rats in the house. You allow rats in the house.
I know.
That's so weird.
It's my turn. It's
and they're getting out of control too. They're freaking huge, man. Like you got to call a serious exterminator.
I poured bleach all over this one. Look what happened.
Yeah,
it turned white and then huge.
Yeah,
and now it sits in my lap all the time.
Yeah. Let that be a lesson to all of you. About how to treat rats. Well, guys, should we get into this? Should we start talking about the finale of Book of Boba Fett?
You're damn right we should. The finale, Book of Boba Fett / The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3.
Yes.
It came out this morning. We're all on the East Coast. And so 3 a.m. Templar, did you stay up this time just to see the title and then go to bed?
I did. I fell asleep. I was up and I fell asleep.
Oh my gosh, terrible. Well, we all got to see it. And Justin, so the episode starts, of course, we've got Mando is there. He's talking to Boba Fett, informing him about the Cobb Vanth situation, right?
And he thinks it's good. Yeah.
He thinks it's good and essentially says that Cobb Vanth, wants to rid the streets of spice. And Boba agrees. Mos Espa has apparently been dealing with a spice epidemic. What I believe has happened is that doctors in Mos Espa were being paid by Big Spice to overprescribe spice to patients for things like back pain and everything. Now everybody's hooked on the spice. You know what I mean? They're ODing on it and they have a serious problem. And Boba's like, we got to clean up the streets. So he was okay with that deal. Were you surprised by this? That Boba was just like, yeah, you know what? Let's get rid of the spice.
Well, Boba has softened at his old age, as we have learned. As most people do.
Uh-huh. So then Boba, he wants to lock down in the palace, right? He's ready to just sit there, have his fate handed to him while they're all locked down in the palace. But of course, everyone wants to stay in sanctuary, right, where the people are. They're like, we're not going to retreat to the palace. We're going to stay there. But what would both of you? Where would you stay if you had anywhere to go in that situation? Do you stay in the sanctuary, the palace? Do you pick a different location? Where are you going?
I'm going to Jabba's palace, and I don't understand. None of that made sense to me. But the guy was just like, "Stay here," and they're like, "Why?" And he's like, "Trust me." And they're like, "Yep, yeah, we're gonna stay in this rubble exploded building and not go to Jabba's fortress,
right?
Where there's probably a million escape routes, right? Where the slave one is, where they can take off if something goes wrong. Instead, they're just gonna hold up in the city." In a ruined bar?
Well, yeah. Justin, the show has to happen. So there needs to be a reason.
Because then the episode could happen.
Yep.
I feel the location added to the dialogue in the 8 scenes that were in that burnout room.
Right.
There was a lot going on there. When I say a lot going on, I don't mean like action. I mean like a lot of lazy dialogue going on.
This is exactly what's happening right now while you're paying attention to me telling you about it.
Yeah, the Fennec Shan ones were pretty atrocious. Like, holy crap. This is like, and it's almost like she's reading off a cue card that someone's just holding off camera. Like it's delivered just so lackadaisically. That was pretty bad.
I'm very up and down in this episode. I think maybe we all are. There was parts I really, really liked.
Oh, some cool parts.
I will be nice to. I will be nice about when we get to them.
We are going to get
but there's parts I'm going to tear up too that I did not care for.
But you're both wrong that the best location would have been the Winchester. You could have holed up there, had a nice cold pint, and just waited for all that to just blow right over. So, unfortunately, you're both wrong. But anyway, they stay at the sanctuary. We do, Justin. We have a big moment here where we find out that the Pikes are the ones who killed the Tuskens, planted evidence. They're sprinkling crack or whatever they're doing, to plant evidence. So that Boba thinks it was the Nikto speed bikers. Classic dick move, right? So they killed the Tuskens and blamed it on someone else.
Okay, now let me ask you about this. Templar, tell me what you think about this.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that, and I was like, who gives a shit?
Mm-hmm.
Boba already hates the Pikes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He already wants to kill and get rid of the Pikes.
Sure.
And so the fact that the Pikes tried to frame someone else for doing a different bad thing that would just make Boba hate them even more, was that impactful? Like, it's not like they turned Boba to someone else to create this other big conflict that like totally rid them of Boba. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what good writing would do. He just went and beat up some Niktos in the in Tashi Station, and then he's just right back to the Pikes. So they played this off as this big thing, and I was just like, I don't get it. He still hates you. He still wants to get rid of you.
Weren't the Tuskens killed before he even started making his play to be the Daigo? Didn't that happen right at the end of before he came out of the desert? They didn't even know he existed at that point that they killed him. That would make no sense.
Well, no, they did. He had gone to visit the head fish guy,
right?
And he tried to shake him down.
Exactly.
Okay, you're right.
Tuskens. That was the Tusken territory.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I see.
But yeah, that's actually a great point, right? Like, what does that really do? He already hates the Pikes, so they're going to fight anyway. All it did is, I guess, make it so that he went. I mean, I guess you could look at it as they didn't want to try to deal with his wrath right after finding out. So, diverting him to someone else after murdering him might have been smart.
Played it off as a big reveal, though.
They did play it off as a big reveal.
Yeah.
Not really that big of a reveal, except again to Boba, because now he killed a bunch of bikers for no reason. I mean, other than cleaning up the streets.
There's a bunch of innocent people dead. Classic.
Well, innocent. I saw those bitches tagging buildings and stuff like that.
That's
I mean,
true.
leaving the neighborhood in disarray. So,
they got what was coming to them.
Yeah, right. So did they kill the Tuskens? No, but they were guilty of plenty of other stuff. So
Yeah. All right.
So then, Justin, we have Grogu showing up in none other than a GD X-Wing. Now, obviously, R2 must have been flying because Grogu can't even reach the pedals. And two, we don't get the Clint Eastwood stone door reveal like we wanted. We just kind of get a real casual peek under the shirt to see the chainmail. A little bit disappointing. Like, what the heck? Why they just made it that simple? Oh, hey, Grogu. Oh, look, you got the chainmail. You made your decision. Like, couldn't we have done that in a more epic fashion, right?
Templar, what did you think? I mean, like, well, first of all, I think we all collectively predicted this last week.
Right.
Right. We're like, he's gonna take the chainmail.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I did want to see the choice, maybe get a flashback to Luke. We didn't get that. But Tyler said, I was predicting that like Grogu shows up, but then he's saved, or something happens, and we realize that he took the chainmail.
Then everything he opens it up. We see the chainmail. He wore it. He made the decision. Yeah, I wish they would have made it a little more up in the air for some, made a reason where you're not really sure what choice he made, and then maybe he comes in to save the day. I don't know. Just the reveal felt a little cash for me. What do you think?
I thought so too. Templar.
I think they set up for the idea that we don't exactly know. We know he made that decision, but we don't know what that means. If he'd made that decision in front of Luke and we saw that scene, he would have been obligated to say, okay, you've made your choice. Here's the end of this situation. The situation's wide open now. We don't really know what happened between him and Luke. We just know that he's there. He has the chainmail. He's there with R2, so assumingly, willingly, he's there. But we don't know what the complete story is yet. I don't think we've seen the end of it for sure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear though. Like he didn't want to hang out with that weird cult leader, right? Who wouldn't let him see any of his friends or family. And he's like, I'm dipping, man. What are you talking about? You won't let me see anybody? Like, this is weird.
Lightsaber?
I can't have any attachments to anybody but you. And you keep rubbing my shoulders in some weird way. I think that's why he had to get out of there in a hurry, and why Disney doesn't want to show what went down. I think it's a little too dark, even for Disney. So he put on that chainmail,
maybe it is,
and he bounced.
Cut that scene out.
Augie, you got to go. Augie, you got to hashtag BookBarBros in the live chat. And then I'm going to give you one more hashtag you got to put in later, and you'll be eligible to win the Darth Maul mini bust, which is awesome.
Yeah, you've been missing out.
It's like a $60 or $70 thing. It's awesome.
We already had bestiality jokes right off the bat, and Augie missed it. I mean, dude, you're missing fire right now.
Star Wars sets us up for those jokes.
So just next thing I really want to talk about, and this is all seriousness right here, all joking aside, Grogu slurps down some centipede-looking things.
He does.
No chewing involved.
No.
So are these things just squirming around in his stomach after he slurps them down? Like, is that
like,
really...
couldn't they climb back up?
Right. Or crawl out? Like they're crawling.
Ugh.
They're crawling in
Ugh.
different directions in there. I mean,
I'll
why
let
wouldn't he
Templar
just
take that one.
choose
Templar,
food?
how does
Hey,
that
Templar,
work?
can you take that one?
His particular species, as you well know, they have a garbage disposal for their digestive system. So as soon
That's
as you
true.
swallow something, it's just like a food processor
Right,
inside.
just eats it right up.
Yeah.
He put a diagram of Grogu's intestines. Well, guys, let me explain to you here how this works.
Big stick.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's true. He does like eat whole frogs. He eats like
Right.
entire whole frogs, and he doesn't chew them either. So it's like,
Right.
I don't know, man.
But
Did
there's something
Yoda
about
have teeth?
right. But you kind of think the frog is just like sitting there, like, well, shit. You know what I mean? Like he's stuck. He's not really.
He's
going
like in his
anywhere.
stomach, just like, damn it.
Yep.
Like,
But like the centipede thing, those babies are crawling around. They're trying to get
Ugh,
out, and
God.
they're checking
All right.
organs and orifices and whatnot. So, I mean,
Next topic.
No, let's spend a little more time on this.
So what about this too? Luke Skywalker, do you think like when Grogu chose the male, he was just like, all right, fine, take my X-Wing, piss off. Like
Yeah,
he
you
didn't even
little
bother
shit.
to like escort a child through space. Like he just,
Right.
he just like puts him on the thing, piss off, and just
Yeah.
drop him off with the Mando, right?
He's trying to recruit people for his cult, right? He spent all this time with his one kid trying to manipulate him, and he won't even join. He's like, what the hell do I have to do to get some kids in my organization here? Right?
Hey Leia, what are you up to? How's the little one doing? You think he's ready for the old training academy? We've had,
Why'd you
we've had a
bring
fresh
him over to
opening
old
here.
Uncle Lucas?
We got a brand new opening, just fresh opened up just this minute.
Tire speed's right. Luke was probably a little salty when he chose the armor.
He had to be. So just then, what we have is the showdown between Boba and Cad Bane. Showdown number 1, I should say.
Showdown number 1, because we do get the opening scene with Cad Bane.
We
Does
do.
start
and,
with
and so Boba says, if he's looking for a job, he's late. But then Cad obviously tells him he already has a job. Apparently, Cad has been working at an Orange Julius under an assumed name, working just for tips.
Just for tips.
And he's also been doing some voiceover work because he has some velvety pipes.
He does.
I love Cad Bane's voice.
Cad Bane should become a professional voice actor. Don't you think?
Shouldn't he? I mean, there's some things that happen later in the episode that we'll get to that might prevent him from doing that. But I agree, he's got the pipes for it. He's got the pipes for it. It's amazing. So this is interesting, too, because they have their showdown, and Fennec really proves to be a good right-hand woman, right? Because she talks Boba off a ledge there. He wants to act in anger. She knows that is a terrible decision. That's exactly what Cad Bane wants, and she talks him down, really proving her worth there. What did you make of the first showdown between Cad Bane and Boba? Talk about it. Go.
You talk about it. Go. I don't even really remember. Like I watched the episode like 2 hours ago, so I've only watched it one time through, and I'm pretty sure they just talk, and then that's it.
A lot of talking.
A lot of talk, and then that's it. Cad Bane walks away. By the way, Cad Bane is a baller, and I really hope to see him in live-action Star Wars for years to come. I really hope that they don't do something stupid.
Yeah.
And kill off a super cool, character that they just introduced who could really, really be awesome.
Best part of this series, Cad Bane.
He was.
Disney wouldn't do anything like that.
I say, what am I saying? He's so cool, and so
he's awesome, and there's no way they would kill off such a cool character just after introducing him. Just no way. Anyway, let's move on to our next order of business. So Cad Bane's dead. We'll get to stuff.
Pipes.
Yeah, we'll get to stuff. So next, Justin, we find out that the locals have laid a trap. All right, so
which is very predictable.
Very predictable, but our heroes did not see it coming.
No, they're idiots.
No, thankfully, the Wookiee, Kirsantan, right? Am I saying it right? I always
Kirsantan.
Santo, right? I'm going to call him Santo.
They do call him Santo. Okay.
So he's ambushed by a bunch of goons with knives, thankfully, instead of guns, which is really helpful for him.
Because he doesn't have armor. He doesn't have armor.
Right. But he still gets bested. He gets owned even by these fools with knives, even though he was lucky enough that he doesn't have armors and they all use knives, and he still gets owned. I don't know. I was shocked by that.
Well, but I mean, he got mauled, which makes sense. Like he got mobbed, because we always say, like, when you're in a fight against someone like that, the dumbest thing to do is the movie thing where they slow things down. We always talk about this. They slow things down and one person attacks at a time. That's stupid. So at least they kind of did it where, like, they ran at him, they mauled him, he got some shots off, he hit some people, but eventually they, like, just kind of jumped and on top of him. And it's like, that's kind of what they probably would do. He's big and strong. He's got a gun.
Nope.
The fact that none of them had guns, but every other Pike bad guy had a gun didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Just townsfolk.
But again, as Tyler said, the show's got to happen. And so that's how this is going to play out.
Mhm.
But I did like it when he comes back, kind of like dragging them, like still flinging them around. Like, he just, I did like
the giant in Game of Thrones when he's got like the White Walkers on him. He's just flinging him off his back while he's running.
Holdor.
No, see, I was expecting Santa to just like be mowing people down with that big ass gun and just like backhanded fools away.
He was dragging ass. He was dragging his ass.
Just a little too slow for me. I don't know. Then what else happens? So then Boba says that the Pikes will win this war when pigs fly. And sadly, we do see the Gamorrean guards.
We get the
Ham
fun
and
there.
Bacon.
Yeah, we get the big
go
fun.
flying off a cliff.
Ham and Bacon got. Yeah, really weird way to just kind of to do that, to just back them up and then just kind of push them off the edge.
We're just getting to know these Gamorrean guards, too.
We were learning so much about them.
There was so much we could see in season 2. I hope they don't make one.
Right.
He shot one, then threw him. No, he threw him and then shot him. Right. So remember, he threw the one guy up in the air and then shot him in midair. Remember?
Right. Then shot him.
Chris Anton.
That was perfect.
Oh my god!
Unboxing treasures. What's going on, man? If you want to win, anybody who's joining late, by the way, if you want to win the Darth Maul mini bust, right there, you got to be a subscriber. You got to hashtag BookBarBros in the live chat, and then you're gonna have to hashtag one other thing that we will reveal in a little while.
All right. So Ham and Bacon go out in a very unfortunate way. I felt very bad for those guys. Decades and decades we've been waiting to hear Ham and Bacon's story, and they just get very slowly pushed off a cliff, like that scene in 300, only not as cool.
I really thought we were going to get a backstory, like a spinoff, a Ham and Bacon spinoff.
Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. But alas,
alas, indeed, you beat me to it.
More wonderful characters that we needed to learn about that are just off in this episode, but more to come. So just next happens, the Pikes close in on the sanctuary. They start moving in. Din Djarin believes all the Mandalorian bantha fodder, so he lives by the saying that Mandos before hoes.
Oh boy!
TM BookBarBros.
No.
So Tyler, he's ready.
Tyler, you stay up all night thinking of that one?
Did I cut out? Did you guys hear that one? So he's ready. He's ready to go out with Boba in a blaze of gunfire. This is the way, Justin. So what do you make of that? I mean, like, he's just ready to die with Boba, and Boba's like, "You believe that bullshit?" And he's like, "Yeah." And Boba's kind of like, "Well, that works out for me, but you're an idiot."
Yeah, I like that part. He's like, "All right, good."
Right. Yeah, what did we think? How did you feel about them holding up, ready to just die together in that moment?
If Boba was like, you can just leave if you want, why doesn't he just leave if he wants? He's got Slave One. I mean, he's got the rocket pack. He made it back there.
Jetpack out of there.
Yeah, jetpack out of there. Yeah,
I mean, so those are things that I just don't understand.
Right.
Where it's like they kind of had the double jetpack scene, which was kind of neat.
Much better than earlier fight scenes.
Better than earlier fights, because at least they're using the jetpacks and they're kind of skating around a little bit, trying to protect each other. They've got the armor so they can take some fire. I get it. But still, it's like if they're cornered and they're not protecting anyone in that moment, like no one is behind them, no one's in the building. Right. So it's like, just shoot off somewhere else.
Right. It actually drove me crazy because I was super excited when they did the scene where, like, the executive assistant walks out there after, we find out he was educated at an Ivy League planet. Right?
Well, I know they did that.
That guy's great. Right. I love that character.
Yeah, his parents clearly donated a bunch of credits to the school. That's the only reason he got in. But so anyway, he goes out there, and then we see some jetpack action, and I was like, holy shit, yes, finally. And it lasts like 2 seconds. And why do they use the jetpacks? To come around and go right in the open where they're surrounded. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, if you had a jetpack, you should be switching levels constantly. You could instantly go up to like a crow's nest, take out the snipers, be hiding. Instead, they fly out to go right where they would be if they just walked out. And you're kind of like, oh, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of having the ability to fly anywhere you want. But I guess they didn't have that in the budget because they had too many Rancor scenes coming up later that they had to save money for. Yeah. So really, I was probably most
couldn't afford the fuel
disappointed.
for the jetpacks.
Right, because I was like super excited when they both flew out, and I was like, finally, we're gonna get to see some jetpack, like Mandalorian badass shit. It's 2 seconds, and then they just stand on the ground firing. You're like, what, man? That's your superpower, is that you can fly around everywhere. And like, no one else can do that.
That's how Jango Fett held his own against Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Exactly. And against so many great Jedi. And it's like, because he can fly around, the Jedi can't chase him, and yet they just go on the open. But thankfully, Justin, in a Deus Ex Machina moment, Freetown members arrive to save the day. The Power Rangers show up as well. Santo jumps in there. Finally, Bobby Boucher comes back, and the Mud Dogs win the Bourbon Bowl. Oh my God, nobody saw it coming. They all came back at that time, and the good guys win. But wait, Justin, it's not over yet, because our gang reunites. We got everybody there, and we think, all right, this is where they turn the tides. But then Scorpion Deck droid, I believe it's called. Otherwise known as just a giant droidica.
That's what I thought of. So I thought gigantic droidica. That's
just a huge fucking destroyer shows up. But then thankfully our heroes remember
those things were cool though.
Those were cool.
I thought those things were
like
awesome.
that. Menacing, in their movements and everything. How do you get past it? Really difficult. Our heroes remember that they have jetpacks again after staying still for a long time in the open, being shot, and they start flying around, which was nice to see. But yes, I also thought that the droids were pretty sweet. I thought it added a pretty cool element to it. What did you guys make of all that?
Go ahead, Templar.
Yeah, I love the droids. I love the silhouette coming from behind the 3D action.
Yeah,
really
cool shot.
I figured that was going to be a good scene, but as soon as I saw those, I was thinking, all right, what's going to take these down? Nothing that we see here. So it's going to be Grogu, or it's going to be our friend we saw in an early episode. Well, I don't spoil it.
We totally called. Now, before we get there,
Danny
says, how many times
but we didn't see him.
Did they have to shoot those damn things before they realized it wasn't working? I totally agree.
Right.
At some point, you're like, they have shot those energy shields 1,000 times. Guess what? It's not working. So why are you still shooting?
Right.
Like,
Because you never know. When's the straw that breaks the camel's back, Justin? You just got to keep trying,
I guess, but I mean, I thought that was stupid, and I was like, why are they still shooting? They should be running for their lives. And then when someone, the one guy, from Freetown, whatever, he's like, we got to run, and the one girl, she's like, no, we can't. We're gonna fight, and I would be like, what are you talking about? We can't fight these things.
Right.
We can't shoot them. We can't touch them. They're just walking invincible, gigantic King Kong style machines that are going to kill us. Like, we run, right? You have to run. It's
the classic, Galaxy Quest. He's fighting the rock monster, and they're like, look for its vulnerable spots. And he's like, it's a rock. It has no vulnerable spots, right? Like, what do you want me to do? It's that very situation here. But then, we have another surprise guest that shows up right in the heat of battle. None other than Pelimoto, who comes out of there, shows up with a message for Din Djarin. So she's unfazed by the commotion in the city that she must hear, right? Like, buildings are being destroyed.
She acts totally surprised when she's like, whoa, what's going on over here?
There's shit going down. I was wondering what all those explosions and screaming and people running were. I'm just hearing about this now.
Right, I'm going to drive right towards that.
With the child, nonetheless. I'm just going to run right into it.
Hey, Din, look who's here. And like the big thing is right behind him.
But yeah, what a weird time to have the reunion. But we did get to see Mando and Grogu unite. What was your take? As emotional as you wanted it to be? Better, worse? Your feelings?
It was odd. It was oddly placed, but that character is fun. I like her a lot. I like those droids. I like their kind of maybe getting a relationship going on with the guy there with the thingies.
Oh yeah,
but,
hopefully some sex scenes in later
spin-off coming there.
And her scooter was funner to watch than the Power Rangers.
Well, I mean, that's a fact. It was clearly faster than the Power Rangers motorcycles. I mean, that's a fact. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I was hoping for more of an emotional. I really wanted a harder tear jerker moment You know what I mean? But for the reuniting, I mean, it was still good.
So
I still liked it, but it wasn't. They didn't take advantage of what could be just an amazing moment when the two finally see each other for the first time again. It was kind of like, oh shit, what are you doing in the middle of this battle? Stay down, dude. Like, stay out of harm's way.
Here's how you do it, right?
All right. Shoot.
Which of course we're gonna break this any second, but of course the Rancor comes. One of the few predictions we had on the show.
A promise kept.
One of the few times a promise was kept. Exactly where I'm going. The few times that actually happened in the show. But here's how you do it. Okay, the Rancor gets the first guy's shield down. Okay, and maybe he gets shot or injured. The machine goes to attack Din. What happens? The Force stops it. It's Grogu. We see Grogu. Right there we go. Grogu, what are you doing? And then maybe he gets shot by the other droid or stabbed by the other droid. And we're like, no! And then we find out he's wearing the Mandalorian armor, which saves his life. That's how you do it. That's how you introduce him. That's how it's shocking to Din. Then you can use the item Din gave him. My God. Come on, Disney. Are you
go even further? Make it even more emotional. Grogu gets shot, looks like he's dead. Din has to run over there, takes off his helmet. He's like bawling, like, Grogu, no, like, are you okay? And then pulls open the robe, sees that he's wearing the chainmail. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Sees that he taped up the note that he had written all those years ago.
In the past.
Right, that he had written in the past. And it's just this beautiful, emotional moment. Like, God, why couldn't they do that?
This is good stuff. Now, Disney always hires those guys who like do the deep fakes better than Disney does. So maybe they'll hire us to be writers if we just keep telling them how they could have done their scenes better. Do you think?
Hashtag Dave Filoni.
Hashtag Dave Filoni. Yeah, we got to get this into his hands.
Well, so I know he's a big fan of the show, so he should be watching right now. Dave, if you're watching, we will work. We're not cheap. But we will absolutely write for the show. And so there we have it. Just Grogu does return, and we do see some flashes of power from him, but it's a bit underwhelming. He lifts up his hand, and kind of like what you're saying, I'm expecting him to, just grab one of those things and chuck it, stop something from hurting someone, who knows, crush something, who knows what he's going to do. Instead, he just like pulls one part from its leg. Clearly, Luke's training isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Is Luke that good of a? No wonder Kylo Ren just killed everybody and ran away. Right. Yeah, man, Luke's not a great teacher.
Because my God,
thing here.
I thought I saw Grogu wielding more power like in early episodes of season 1 than he did right here after a bunch of training with the great Luke Skywalker. I don't know, man.
He didn't do his flip. He could have done some flips. He's got his flip thing going on. He could.
I know. He learned how to do the flippy jumps. Yeah. He just learned how to do the flippy jump.
Yeah.
And he didn't even flippy jump once. Not even like out of the way of a blaster.
God, Robert Rodriguez directed this one.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna get up. We're going to get to a couple other, we all have suspension of disbelief, but things can't be stupid. They just can't be stupid. But anyway, so we see the Rancor. We were just talking about this. A promise kept. Unlike a lot of the special effects throughout the show, I thought the Rancor looked fantastic.
Rancor looks great. Rancor looks really good.
I thought he was great. The way they portrayed him like a King Kong type, and just the claws, the way he came over the tops of the buildings, the way he fought the big droidicas. I mean, I thought it was
some of the movements kind of, chaotic monster-like. Like, very good. Made it more believable that he could take on these seemingly invincible machines, because he wasn't just like slow lumbering, which is kind of what I was expecting. They made him seem more menacing in his movements and how he was swiping and stuff like that. So I agree. I thought it looked really good, and that would be an easy one to mess up. That's been the weirdest thing about this show, is like the things that you would think absolutely they should nail, they have somehow managed to screw up and make it look terrible, and then things that are kind of hard for any movie or TV show to do well, like they killed, like
they kind of crushed it. Yeah,
right. Like the Rancor, that's hard for anybody to do. Those look shitty in a lot of movies and TV shows when they try to do stuff like that. It looked great in this episode. I was really impressed with the Rancor.
Templar, what'd you think?
It seemed like they used a mix. There were some practical effects in there. I feel like a few of the shots were, the hand and the side face occasionally. I think that was happening mixed in with obviously the jumping around CGI stuff. But yeah, it was great. It looked great. It looked great in the cityscape.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah, I
that's
thought
part
so
of the
too.
reason they set it in the cityscape, because there's way more happening there. Like, if your job is palace, I guess your job is palace, sitting on a giant mountain, all exposed with every side is exposed to the ships and battles. They'd have to do is launch a missile from.
Yeah, and it's more chaotic and there's more people, and so maybe there's more
Yep.
at stake and more, and I get that, but just the way they wrote why they would stay there was stupid. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, you could still set it there. You just need to set it there for a
We're
good
just
reason.
hanging out here because we could.
Right.
Yeah,
Have them
the
start
pikes-
to leave and say, like, we're going to go to the palace, and then everybody starts showing up. They don't have the
Yeah.
option. They retreat
Right.
back to the sanctuary because everyone's there.
Yes, so simple.
Retreat their way back to the palace, and then they can't. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, or
Now
the
you're
Pikes
just
are already there. The Pikes took over the palace. I don't know, but there's so many other better ways than just one of the Power Rangers saying, we should stay here, and they're like, why? And he's like, because, and they're like,
Right.
Yep.
So again, Dave, if you're listening, this advice is free. But if you want more for future episodes, you're going to have to pay. We're going to want that cash money. Okay, we want some of that Disney money.
We want some of that Disney money.
You know what I mean?
Without
We
the
just want a
Disney
little
anchor. No Disney anchor, just the money.
right, just the money. So just another thing the Rancor does, which I absolutely loved, kills one of the droids by shoving its thumb through its eye, and I just have to imagine that sent chills down Pedro Pascal's spine for obvious Game of Thrones reasons.
Yeah,
Clearly paying
the show always
homage.
comes back to Game of Thrones.
It always comes back to Game of Thrones. Clearly paying homage to the gruesome death of Oberon in Game of Thrones.
The Viper
Can we not
versus
talk
the
about
Mountain.
Game of Thrones episode for just a minute.
Let's spend 20 minutes talking about that
Can we
episode.
just talk about that one and how good Pedro Pascal was as Oberon in that show. So good. Speaking of characters that came on the scene like a lightning bolt and then were killed too soon, Oberon, one of them from Game of Thrones, for God's sake.
Absolutely. Pedro,
was a
played by
character.
Pedro Pascal. Yeah.
Mhm.
But so the Rancor ruled. He was absolutely awesome. It did look like Templar was saying, like they almost did like what they did in Jurassic Park, where like they had him as a puppet for like up close shots, but then they just CGI'd a little bit. And then in the deep shots, obviously they CGI'd him, but it looked pretty good. The only time it was goofy is when they did the close-ups on Boba. When they did the close-ups on Boba on his head, it looked a little goofy, but it's like, it's hard to show how he could actually ride him with not just flinging off constantly,
But overall, I agree with both. Yeah, I thought
overall, the way he
wonderful.
came in, like with the claws coming up over the building, really, really, really cool.
How did he learn
nice
to
for them.
ride that so fast? That was
I wish
very
He's been
quick.
working off screen. They have
I was just gonna say-
they have a Rancor stable,
Personal trainers.
practices. They have the poles that the Rancor like jumps over and stuff like that. It's really beautiful if you ever get a chance to see some of those Rancor competitions they do.
Yeah, Ryan George would say, right?
Cool. Like if Danny Trejo had rode the Rancor in at the last minute, like
It
heard
would
there
have
was
been
some
nice.
trouble.
Right.
You know?
Why didn't we see Trejo at all again? Why did
Right.
he literally only spend 2 seconds in
He
the
just
show
had a little
to be
cameo.
forklift
Just a little cameo.
operator?
Yeah.
Come on, no, that's an
Love him.
underutilized character.
He's bigger than
he
that.
did Great.
He should have been out there throwing knives and shit. Not having it. But so anyway, so next happens. So we have the Rancor come out, and we think, you know what, our heroes are out of the woods. They killed the giant droidicas. No, they are not, because in strolls none other than Cad Bane. And now you might think, how does he deal with the Rancor? Super simple, barely an inconvenience. All right, a little bit of fire. Spray a little bit of fire.
In the Rancor, you notice how like at one point he turned around like he was like, ah,
Right, he like shakes his fist at
Whatever.
Cad Bane.
you're like,
"Ah, you youngins,
you,
fire.
you son of a bitch, and then he wanders away.
Bane's like, this is my third Rancor this week.
Like, Jesus.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's been dealing with that. You need to
Right.
call
He
Cad
looked
Bane in to deal with your rat
so-
situation, because he'd shoo him away like
Totally
that.
Oh, this one.
Snap him with fingers.
Oh.
Yeah. And second thought, he's going to need a bigger flamethrower to deal with
He's
that
pretty much
monstrosity.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How are you touching that thing with your
What are you
bare
doing?
hands?
It's a family show.
I don't. Can we?
Just a dog. We've all seen that.
Right. We're very slow on the edits. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, dog.
We only
If
missed it by like
you
30
worked-
seconds.
You worked for NBC, you'd have been fired immediately after that.
Damn it. We tried,
Terrible.
folks.
Terrible
We're sorry.
time.
Cover your children's eyes. He's showing rat butts out there. But yeah, so we have Cad Bane show up and shoos him away. We get our second Showdown What was your take on this? What was your feeling on how it all went down?
To be honest, I don't know what Templar thinks, but it went down the way mostly that I thought it was going to go down. I thought Cad Bane was going to win.
Mhm.
And then the only difference is I thought someone was going to save Boba. I didn't think he was going to save himself. I thought the child or Din Djarin or someone was going to save him. But instead, he uses the gaffy stick, a nice little callback.
Indeed. Stabs him right in the chest with that beast that he got on his Tusken Vision quest. So a nice little
Let's talk about that.
Right.
Do you
they
think
killed Cad Bane?
If, as a new viewer, let's say this is maybe your first Star Wars series, maybe this is your third Star Wars series, we know who Cad Bane is. Maybe they do too. But if this is your first series, did they set up enough? We know the drama. Did they set up enough drama for the new viewer that they're like, okay, he killed this other cool bounty hunter guy, and now he's a bad guy again, but now what? You know, like, I didn't really get why that had to happen. Like,
so let's okay. So yeah, like let's just finish. We're already basically at the end. So let's wrap it, and then we'll talk about all of our questions and the likes and
we'll
dislikes.
We'll circle back. So
yeah, because I know what you're talking about, and I those are some of the things I want to get into. Yeah.
Right. So we have Boba kills Cad Bane. Absolutely terrible. Yeah. Wish Woody was one of the coolest introductions, one of the coolest new characters I've seen in Star Wars in a long time. And he goes out a little too easily for as badass as he was, but whatever, we'll come back to it. But then we think, okay, now it's over, right? It's just one bad thing after another, but now Cad Bane is dead. But no, the gang just can't catch a break, Justin, because the Rancor starts going all King Kong, throwing a fit.
He's really upset.
Stuff, breaking shit. And so then, and this is what will confuse me. So, Cad Bane comes in, he just shows off a little fire, and the Rancor just, runs away with his tail between its legs. Mando literally shoots flame into his mouth, and the Rancor just looks pissed off about it. Right?
The Rancor looked at him like, you son of a bitch.
Right, like, but he wasn't like you. Right. I thought we had a thing, you and I. He was like betrayed by it and chucked him. I mean, what do you make of that? What the hell? Why did he run away when Cad Bane flashes some fire and then Mando sprays it down his throat, and then the Rancor just looks mad? Templar, your thoughts, go.
I have no idea how to answer that question. That was a question I had.
I thought you were going to pull out a diagram of Rancor biology and be like, well, the answer's simple. If you look to the back of the throat where the uvula is.
We've had plenty of anatomy lessons tonight, I think.
we have.
Too many,
arguably. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's okay because Grogu uses Force sleep and knocks the Rancor out cold. And, this, honestly, I think this explains a lot. We've been talking about Luke Skywalker's creepy cult he was getting Grogu to go into. I think Luke was obviously using Force sleep on Grogu, and this was part of the problem. And Grogu learned the technique from having it done to him, uses it on the Rancor. A lot of creepy stuff going on this hippie commune that Luke is running over there. But it did allow Grogu to learn a very valuable skill, which is how to put people to sleep when they don't want to be.
Interesting. So here's the deal.
And then creepily lay down and fall asleep next to them without their consent.
I guess so. Right. Grogu did do that. He learned that from Luke also.
He also learned that from Luke. He'd wake up and Grogu would just be the little spoon, and he didn't agree to it,
Right.
And so, but I liked how Mando thought he was just going to shoot up there and jump on the Rancor's back and ride him. And the Rancor was like, no, who do you think you are? And just pulls him right off his back. Yeah. So I like that. And that's trying to imply that he let Boba ride him is what they're trying to,
because
to show
he imprinted or whatever we had.
And so off screen, he imprinted off screen. They did not develop that relationship at all. And because we had to have Mandalorian episodes, so to make the show good. And so, but then when he blows the fire, I think is when the Rancor does either try to bite his head off and then chucks him into a building on the other side. So it's not like he just was hey, he at least tried to bite his head off and then chucked him.
Right. Well, but he also took a second to squint his eyes.
He did and look at him
and you son of a fish, right? But
Right.
like from the Cad Bane thing, it made it seem like he's terrified. I took it as to make more Game of Thrones references, right? It's like the Hound in Game of Thrones, right? Like
Everyone has a
He's just
weakness.
scared of
right,
it.
he's
Yeah.
just
Frankenstein.
terrified of fire or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like it didn't really seem like it hurt him that bad. So why is he so scared? He was taking gunshots and stuff like it's nothing and just slapping droids around. So I don't know. Is it an error? You tell me, folks. Comment
You
away.
tell us. Comment down
Use our
below.
imagination a lot more. Like,
Right.
oh, he's just angry that he's angry now, and it doesn't really bother him. So now he's going to fight back instead of running away.
Exactly.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's what's
But then, so we have all that happen, and it seems like everything is done. But then you got to think about, okay, well, the show is over, right? But what about like the mayor?
Grogu saves Din.
Right, he
right?
saves him. Yeah, he puts the Rancor to sleep.
With the
But
Rancor
then
to
it's
sleep,
like,
yep.
but then essentially, right? It's like everything is over. But what about the mayor? What about the leader of the Pikes? Well, Fennec just really quickly just goes in the building, just takes care of them because we got to tie up our loose ends real quick
gotta
before
talk
the
about
show
that.
is over. So that takes 2 seconds. She essentially takes care of him like Leon from The Professional. You ever seen that movie? Natalie Portman was a little girl in the movie.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And remember, Leon was the hitman. It's honestly like a great movie. But there is a scene in the opening that plays out almost exactly like that, where it's like it's supposed to be kind of over the top of just how amazing of a hitman he is, where there's just gunshots coming out of nowhere. They can't see anybody. Everybody's just dying. One person actually does get like hung up. Like they get hung.
They probably were doing a nod to that scene or show.
They must
Probably.
have done because it seemed too similar to that. So she pulled a Leon from The Professional just to tie up those loose ends right quick. And then, of course, we go to our last scene, prior to the credits, where Mando and the Grogs are off on an adventure. And apparently Grogu likes to go fast, right? Maybe he's going to be a pod racer in the future,
So, and then let's do the post-credit scene real quick, and then we can break down really get into the stuff we liked and didn't like. So we do get a post-credit scene, and at first, we're in Jabba's palace, we're the Bacta tank. And Boba, as they're walking the streets, right, and people are being nice to him now, and he's kind of talking to Fennec Shan, like, is this really for us? Like walking around and people like liking us now? Like, it seems odd now. Like, I don't know if I like it. And she kind of makes this hint. She says, well, if it's not us, then who? And then in the post-credit scene, we see someone in the Bacta tank that wasn't Kursan, which I think we all thought it was.
Right.
And then we see the guy who makes all the kids into half robots. Now, at first, I didn't understand who it was. I had to go back, watch the scene again, and then pause it before I was like, oh, that's Cobb Vanth. That's who's in there. So now I assume
I'd recognize that hair anywhere.
Implying a spinoff, or maybe not even a spinoff, but more cameos from Cobb Vanth. When people go back to Tatooine, Cobb Vanth is now going to be probably like ruling from Jabba's palace, but not as a gangster, but as like
a marshal, a sheriff.
Sheriff, an enforcer, whatever you want to call it.
Reprising his role as his character in Deadwood, right? Which he also, you've seen Deadwood?
Yeah, I love that show, man.
It wasn't that great, and he was awesome in it. And it's essentially like reprising that role, but in Star Wars, right? Doesn't
that show hold the Guinness Book of World Record for curse words? It's something silly like that. There's so many curse words.
It's great. Oh my God. What was the bartender's name? That guy was so awesome. I forget his name.
Oh, there was a couple. The tall dude.
But Danny.
It's like Danny?
Billy. It was Billy.
It was like the main. I never remember. Jess has never seen it. Great show. So Danny Cordray. It plays
from The Office. I know that
from The Office, right? He plays essentially like the sheriff of this town in Deadwood, this really famous show on HBO. And his walk and talk and little swagger, I mean, it's straight out of that show. But I loved it. I really liked him in that role and as that character. It just like comes so naturally to him, and you just kind of believe it. And he really like kind of commits to it. You know what I mean? Like he takes it seriously, but at the same time, it's supposed to be kind of this cool confidence that also makes it feel kind of lighthearted because he is just so confident in his swagger and how he goes about things. Right. So I really like him. I would not mind seeing him come back.
The Clint Eastwood-esque kind of bad guy,
he does.
anti-hero.
I think so.
Yeah.
I like him too. So I'm glad that I think that's at least a hint that we're going to see more of him. Maybe not a spinoff, maybe not, but it seems like future shows where we're off in Tatooine, he's going to be the marshal in charge running Jabba's palace.
I just hope that it's not a signal for season 2 of Book of Boba Fett, because I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Boba Fett again. I'd like to see that again, but as a part of someone else's story, an episode.
Yeah, well, if we get Book of Boba Fett 2, which we may or may not, we may just get them out in the Star Wars universe, the same way Cobb Vanth might just be out in the Star Wars universe.
And then you can
pull them, exactly. You pull them in and out for cameos to connect other shows.
Home base or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if we got season 2 of the Book of the Boba Fett, especially since, you typically have been getting like the Mandalorian will return like Marvel does.
Right.
And then, you kind of like, we did not get that.
I think that the announcement of Andor season 2 was not a mistake. I think that was strategically renounced just before the end of this, because that way they didn't announce the second season of Book of Boba Fett. They announced the second season of a series that hasn't even aired yet. So
right.
that's strategic.
I think the Book of Boba Fett was meant to be just like a bridge gap story to introduce a few new characters, get us moving. And that's just kind of where we are.
You're thinking about the second season of Andor and just getting hot and sweaty.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, wow, they didn't announce the second season of that.
We haven't even seen the first yet.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd like to see him as a character.
Right. Okay, so now before we get into like our rants or we always talk up things during the review that we really, really like. Now what I like to do is go back and talk about the things that I don't think make any sense, the things that I want to complain about. So before we do that, we'll do the final hashtag for this. So in case nobody has to sit through our rants. So again, if you want to win this, you have to be live right now. You got to be a subscriber to the channel, and you've got a hashtag BookBarBros in the live chat. And then you've also got a hashtag, we'll say Andor. For the upcoming Andor show. So hashtag Andor, ANDOR. If you in the live chat, when we're done, we're going to go back through, and anyone in the live chat who's a subscriber who actually hashtagged BookBarBros and Andor in 2 separate posts are going to be eligible to win this. And we could do it live on Instagram, Templar, or we could just do a YouTube short maybe and just go live or something and give it away. So
there you go.
But that's all you have to do. So you had to have been live. So hashtag Andor, ANDOR, and you have to have a hashtag BookBarBros in the live chat. And if you do, you will be eligible to win that. So
Dr. Dorky's on it, huh? Dr. Dorky's.
That's right. He's got it. Boxing Treasure, Sire Speed. Augie, get him in there. Jedi John, get him in there. All right. So
like it.
Now let's talk about things that were stupid. Now, Tyler, we were just kind of talking about this. You and Templar apparently have seen this movie. I haven't seen the movie about the assassin guy or the hitman guy.
Leon the Professional.
That scene where Fennec Shand shows up to whatever that little place is. I forget what they call it. And she kills all the guards and then hangs the mayor and then stabs the Pike guy in the back. Here's why that scene was stupid. And I feel like you're gonna know why I'm gonna say this. The ceiling, okay? They're looking up at the ceiling
because there's a ceiling,
as if it's like a 20-foot high dark rafters. Like if you're looking in the scene, you can see that it's just clay. Like it's just clay all the way around the top.
That should tell you something about her skill.
Well, but I mean, laser beams are shooting down from random parts, and they're all looking up, and no one sees anything. And the mayor gets hung, and he's like looking up right there and doesn't see anything. And it's like the camera purposefully doesn't show us exactly what's above there, but you can see in the back of the little hut, and we know from when they walk in, it's just a short, small little hut. That's all it is, and you can just see that it's just a clay cover. That there's no like big thing in the ceiling. And then somehow she drops down from behind and stabs him. I thought that was dumb. I mean, I looked around, was like, where is she? I'm like, is she stuck like Spider-Man to the clay? And is she a chameleon? And so they can't see her? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That was the big twist. She's a chameleon. She can turn into clay.
It's the mod.
They've actually been hinting at this throughout the show. You didn't pick up on this, Jess?
Yeah, she's always jumping off a tree or something.
I'm not as intuitive as you guys are.
I know, apparently, man.
Obviously.
But it was absurd. And in fact, Leon the Professional, the Professional, which is a great movie. Again, go see it, by the way. If you haven't seen it, it is awesome. Leon the Professional. I think it might just be called The Professional, but his name is Leon. It's got Natalie Portman in it. The guy from what's his name? I don't know, I remember Mission Impossible, whatever. But that first whole like segment is probably like the cheesiest, most over the top, but it's still more believable than this scene was. Because at least like when he hangs the one guy, at least he had like walked out into a hallway where there was like a staircase and there was an overhang balcony that clearly Leon was over the top of, and then hung him to keep it quiet and stuff. When he was shooting everyone, he was, you know, in a place where he was protected and no one can see it. So it's like, at least it made a little more sense. It was still just over the top, and that like no one's really that good, you know, comes out of the shadow, puts a knife to a guy's neck and stuff. Yeah. But it's like, that's what we saw, but like times 100, to where it's like she was hanging people, but there was no place to hang him.
Where's he being hung from? Exactly.
The Force. She's using the Force.
She's right. She's Force sensitive. She can use the Force.
She just figured it out. Just before the scene.
It's the problem. We're not smart enough to keep up with their writing. That's what it is.
That was one of the two scenes that left me completely hanging. That scene, and when Cad Bane was killed, I thought we were going to see the big protagonist come in, the real protagonist. Yes. Remember we talked about
that's on my list, man.
Right now is when that protagonist that badass is going to come in that we were expecting, and it's going to be like Mace Windu, or it's going to be somebody
Dark Jedi.
Somebody turned to the dark side.
Kira, someone from Crimson Dawn.
Right.
Anything. Introduce the new villain, a comic book villain.
Right. New badass Dark Jedi or whatever. Right.
We've been complaining about that. Like the bad guys can't just be the Pikes. And they tried to put Cad Bane in there, but he was a hired hitman. Right. And then he's really awesome, and people love him.
He was sweet.
And they used him as a plot device
right away.
Right, just to make Boba Fett look more badass, and he still didn't look badass. He said, that wasn't badass. I didn't feel badass. I'm like, don't kill him.
I completely agree.
I
completely agree. Even though he killed them, it didn't feel badass. Right. It would feel badass if Boba killed him again by like flying around, using his jetpack, shooting him, doing all kinds of cool maneuvers, like a cool fight. But just kind of like acting like he was accepting his fate and being killed, and then like tripping him and stabbing him with the gaffy stick. Like, it's just not as cool. Cad Bane was way more badass. He was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I'm shocked by it because Disney is willing to give people the thickest of plot armor in the entire world. And they create this character that's legitimately cool. A character that was already cool, but I figured they would screw up in live action. It's just because it's hard to get the look and the voice. You know what I mean?
Like, I think we all thought that. I didn't know if we'd ever see him in live action.
Exactly.
Because of how hard it would be to get the face good. But he was like a cult, like a cult, popular character. And they knocked it out of the park.
His introduction was
for what you can do with Cad Bane.
Well, of course,
for what you can do with him, they did a great job. Awesome. And his voice, the voice actor, I forget what his name is, who does a bunch of the other characters. Was it Corey Burton? I think is his name. Great job. Love his voice. And it's like, yes, Cad Bane, this is awesome. Oh my goodness. He can pop up now and do jobs in other shows and like work for other bad guys. Obi-Wan, we can see him around. It's like, now I get that in Star Wars, we're jumping around in timelines all the time. Right. Yes. So it's not like it's impossible that we won't ever see Cad Bane again.
No.
Right.
Because I think
Andor's dead, and we're going to see 2 seasons of him. Andor's dead. We know that. So
exactly. And so we're jumping around time. And so it's not like we might not ever see Cad Bane again. Maybe we just saw him at the end. You know, maybe that's why Boba was trying to say, you're an old man now. And he's like, oh, you're old too. So maybe we'll see a younger Cad Bane, and we'll see how him and Boba met and worked together, or how they played, you know, we might.
They foreshadowed that these 2 very cool characters had history in the past, and I think people will be much more interested in seeing Boba working for the Empire and working with Cad Bane and the other bounty hunters in his prime. I think people will be way more interested in seeing that. You know?
Yeah, I think so too. Jedi John. He's got the smiley face. So everybody's reverse engineering how she did it. And by the way, am I the only one that thought it was odd that she hung the biggest, fattest one in there?
Well, no, because he has the weight for the hanging to work.
Right.
How
do you mess that up?
You think Fennec Shand could pull that guy up?
Oh, yeah. She's stronger than she looks.
Very strong.
She's a mighty morph Power Ranger.
Exactly. She is sinewy. Under that uniform is just solid freaking muscle, man.
Okay.
So
that scene really got me. Templar's right. The introduction of a new, you always want to see the new bad guy. So like, what did Mando's season 2 finale do? It gave us Luke Skywalker. Really, really awesome. And then what did it do? It gave us Boba Fett, right? It
Yeah.
set up the Book of Boba Fett. And so it's like it did things to like get you excited for the future. And at the end of Boba, now tell me if anybody picked up on this. After Boba killed Cad Bane, which was tragic, they did this weird like fade in 3-cut camera shot. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where like it faded to him, and then it faded up on him, and then it faded closer to him, and I was
Michael
like, "Oh
Bay.
my goodness!" Like, but I was like,
a Transformers.
in 8th grade,
Not enough
film,
explosions.
Cut
Right.
this. I'm like, what was that? God, I thought it looked so cheesy and stupid.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there's no what have we always said? Where's the thing that's so going to
Right.
be so awesome that we're talking about?
There
And
was
so now
no hook.
I thought the Rancor was the
Yep.
best part about it. The Rancor was awesome.
Mm.
They did a great job with the Rancor.
Mhm.
But it's like now the show's over, and it's like, okay, what's that next thing? What did it leave us with? Where's the cliffhanger? It's like is Cobb Vanth in a bacta tank really the post credit scene is,
All right.
and it's like Mando and Grogu are going to be off on adventures together. I think we all knew that was going to happen. So that's not really that surprising or shocking or big of a deal. And like we all said, like we thought the reveal with Grogu coming back could have been so much better.
Oh,
And it just-
really a wasted
just
opportunity.
wasn't.
No,
Yeah.
No
question about
drama attached to it at all.
Right,
Yeah.
because they had, I am, right on the precipice of wanting to be emotional at their reunion, and like didn't really get that payoff, right? And like, and so I'm primed and ready for it, and like almost want it, and they didn't do it. Right? They didn't create that moment where you're like, oh my god, like it's so beautiful, it's amazing. It's supposed to be like a father son reuniting after all that.
I'm like, oh, how cute.
Right, but like instead,
Where's the Rancor?
2 seconds, and he's like, yeah, we're busy, we're fighting, dude. Like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah,
And
hold on.
talking to Motto, and she's like, why would you bring a baby into a freaking war zone? Like, what is wrong? Like, are you high right now? And like, and honestly, based on her character, she absolutely was.
Oh yeah, wasted.
Yeah, because I mean, again, she didn't hear an entire war happening, and she just drives up with the baby. Yeah, she's absolutely she's tripping balls at that point. But again, that's why we love her character.
I mean, we know she's hooked up. She hooked up with the Wookiee. No, that was Maz. She's hooked up with a Jawa furry apparently, and now she's trying to hook up with Noodlehead.
Has she banged a Jawa? Did she?
Yeah, she talked about it a couple episodes ago. Remember?
Oh, I forgot about that.
I think she
Like,
did.
they're very
You're right.
furry.
Yeah.
They're very furry.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to read some backstory on that. I wonder what that was like. You can't even see a Jawa's face. Like, what do they have under the hood? What does that even look like down there? If they're hiding their face that much, like I can't even imagine the mangled mess that's hiding under those robes.
Probably look like the Pikes. And you're just this weird fish creature. I don't know.
That's what they have hiding under their robes.
Yeah,
Like
fish
he
creatures.
opens. Wow,
pike,
that looks
a whole
like
pike
that looks like
comes
plastic.
Right.
Right. Oh my god. But she's so high, she's into it. She'll do anything for just a little bit of cash so she can get her next hit.
Of course.
That's what
Templar.
she does.
Templar.
Yes.
What did you hate? What did you hate about this episode? Is there anything that just drove you crazy? Doesn't have to be big. It can be small.
I
things.
think the entire series missed a great opportunity. They wrote from the beginning the Tusken Raiders, and then they just kind of killed off his little Tusken family, and they used that as like an irritant to him, and that's it. The best ally he could have had, the most exciting thing for me in that moment was him flying off and coming back with an army of Tusken Raiders, just crazy. He's got control of them. They're more than just animals like we've seen so far. We know that they set that up, and they didn't do anything with it. Now he's going to just rule. He's just going to control one spot and one city on this tiny little planet, and that was the whole point of this whole season.
I guess I too thought that the perfect example of the cavalry to come to the rescue was going to be the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
And the fact that they just killed off his whole tribe of Tuskens and didn't bring the Tuskens back.
Right.
Again, like I just, you feel so weird when you critique stuff like this because you're like, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation that runs the world.
Yeah.
And you got to think that they have the best people out there, but they're also just people. And, you don't mean to pick on people, but you're just like, that's like storytelling 101. Like how you do callbacks and how, like you set up a story, like these are their tribes. It's a simple way. One Tusken Raider from his tribe survives.
Right.
Now, and he goes and tells everyone
Runs
about
to the desert.
Boba.
Right.
The
yeah.
kid survives.
The
and the
kid
kid goes and tells
exactly.
everyone about Boba, what Boba had did, how he had saved them, what he had done for them.
Right.
And they all at the end come with the kid. The kid leads
and the
them
kids
into
lead
Boba's
them into
rescue.
battle.
Yes,
Exactly.
It
He's
leads
riding
them
a
into Boba's rescue.
bantha into battle with a bunch of Tuskens behind him and comes in to save the day. Again,
Doesn't
Dave,
that just seem like the obvious way that would work?
The
we know you're
Bantha's
watching,
trampled down.
Mr. Filoni. I'll even call him Mr. Filoni. We know you're watching. Again, this advice is free. Okay, future advice. Give us a call. Go ahead and DM us.
I call him Davey Fee.
You call him Davey Fee, right? Mr. F, Mr. Filoni, whatever you want to call him. Just reach out to us. We'll give you a hand because, man, my God, man, so many missed opportunities.
Right.
And again, and this episode was far from the most egregious of them all. This episode had things I thought were cool and things I liked, and at least it was, paced to where there was a lot of things happening, right? And so even if everything that happened I didn't like, or I was kind of like, well, that doesn't make sense, at least things were moving. Right, it wasn't just Boba walking down a dusty street for 15 minutes out of a 25-minute episode. So it better, but still, man. Again, like Templars, wasted opportunities.
That were sitting right there the whole time.
Again, like low-hanging fruit. The Grogu Mando reunion is just, my God, and like the Grogu coming back to just, he shows up in the X-wing and immediately see the chain, like. You can so easily conceive of like 100 different ways right now.
Reveal.
It should have been awesome to see him come back.
Instead, it was very cute.
Right, it was a very cute.
Grogu jumped. He jumped at him. Oh, hey kid! All right, sit down there. We're in a high speed cut chase. You know?
And that's the only time we see him use his new agility was to jump into his arms. Not when the war was going on. People are being killed. He's not using it then. Like, my God,
that stuff's going away. Or even at the very end, the Rancor jumps down after throwing Mando, and he's about to get him, and the fan comes down, and it stops. And Grogu is the one to use the Force. Kid, what are you doing? And then, boom, he gets distracted by Mando. The Rancor's claw comes down, boom, hits him in the chest, pierces him, but he's saved by the Mando armor. I can do this 1,000 different ways. Yeah. And it's so much more emotional, and it pays off the fact that we don't know, even though he's there, we don't know that he didn't choose the lightsaber and came to save him. Like, he could have chosen the lightsaber and came to save him. We don't know.
Right. Or have it Mando hanging from a cliff, right? He's about to fall down. There's a stampede below. Mando's brother comes up, whispers in his ear, takes his hands off. Mando falls, gets run over by the stampede. He's dead
by a pack of wildebeest.
Yep, Grogu comes up to him. He's like, Mando, get up, let's go. Mando's dead, right? And then Mando's brother blames Grogu for Mando's death. Grogu has to go into hiding. Like, think about that. Think about how much better this would be as a story.
He goes and lives with a meerkat, right? And a warthog up in the jungle. Oh, man.
He sings songs and stuff. Grogu comes back. He's even more powerful. He's ready to take his rightful place on the throne.
We have that please stand by thing still available. Please stand by. We're having technical difficulties.
Or maybe he takes the dead Mando and just carries him around on his arm for the weekend.
Justin, is this just Weekend at Bernie's you're about to do?
Yes. I was going to do Weekend at Bernie's.
Damn it, Justin. God, you got to keep it more sly than that.
Come on. We only get better. Right as I think we're starting to crack jokes and be funny and we're drinking heavily, we're like over an hour and then it's always pretty much time to wrap up. We got to start having...
No, we got to start drinking way earlier.
Live where the first 30 minutes all we do is slam beers and make jokes and then we start the show. Totally
good evening.
We actually did forget to do our pregame chug. We did forget to do that today. We really need to do that. I think
let's do a cheers and a go do it. I was gonna say we'll do a cheers and a chug and maybe do like one last point for everybody.
Sounds good.
We got to wrap it up, give like final grades.
Yep.
Templa's got the sold out logo.
But yeah, I mean, maybe what we need to do, Jess, is we got to pull back some of our trivia segments and just incorporate them into the lives, even if it's not trivia. You know what I mean? We can still have our pregame chug. We can still have kind of our 7th inning stretch that we always did. You know what I mean? And we could have our sign-offs again, right? Think about the sign-offs. I mean, those were a staple of the BookBarBros people all over the world would tune in every night just to see
all over the world
the signups. I mean, my goodness, we had trouble just accommodating all of the viewers at one time because we'd have so many of them watching.
We were crashing StreamYard's platform because we were getting so much traffic.
Absolutely, we were. And with gems like this one, for instance.
Let's get out of my head.
Did you just fart?
What? No.
I'm pretty sure I was just mind raping you here, and I'm pretty sure you just farted. We have a show we're trying to do here.
I didn't fart. I was under your control.
Oh my God, dude. Are you serious? I can smell it. Oh, dude, that is rank, man. How can I even smell that? You're in a different city. Oh, I farted. I mean,
that
those
was
are
a good one.
Those are
Our
classics.
signature sass. So, so when Templar's back. Okay, here we go.
I thought you'd left me. I saw the signature sign off. I'm like, those mother effers love me here.
No, we were just saying we got to bring the signature sign up back.
We got to bring the sign off
for
back.
every live. You know what I mean?
And so Tyler, let's wrap Boba before we talk about what's coming next, since Boba's over now. I'm trying to think if anybody's got anything. Go. I feel like there were a few things. Obviously, generally speaking, Mando, great. Love the jetpack scene for the most part. The Rancor, fantastic. Best part about the show was the Rancor. Lots of good stuff. I think they botched the Grogu return to Din Djarin. I think we all agree there. Templar just said it. I mean, like, they botched that return. Could have been so much better. But some silly things. They said Fennec Shan's Assassin's Creed moment at the end there was stupid because she's like in a clay hut and they're acting like she's in a 20-foot high pitch black rafter where they can't see what's going on. That was stupid. And then, the lack of introduction of a new villain. Like, I wanted a new villain, a new big bad. Who's our new big bad? And we didn't get that. And I thought that sucked too.
And they killed a badass character in Cad Bane. And then they killed Cad Bane.
God damn it. Why would they do that? So he's so awesome. Everyone's like, Cad Bane ruled. People were like, people have been, generally speaking, up or down, but more negative than positive on this show. And it's like, then they give a character where everyone's like, Cad Bane rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dead. Gaffy stick to the heart. I mean, why do the best ones always go that way? You know what I mean? Just a classic story. I think that's how Kurt Cobain died. Gaffy stick to the heart.
Gaffy stick to the chest.
Gaffy stick to the good ones.
Anything else? Anything else to go out on?
That's it. I've said my piece.
Mm-hmm. I would say that was the best of the 5 Book of Boba Fett episodes. The worst of the 3 Mandalorian season 3 episodes.
So well said, and you are absolutely correct. That is
we're all in agreement.
Very well said.
Okay, so let's go out 1 to 10. 1 Beskar spear to 10 Beskar spears. How many Beskar spears does the Book of Boba Fett get? Templar, you go first.
So this is
you can give half spears.
The whole series.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it gets a 6.5 just because there's 2 kick-ass Mandalorian episodes in it. Otherwise, it just exists. It's there.
So you're giving it 6.5 Beskar spears out of 10. Tyler, yours is going to be dark sabers. How many dark sabers out of 10 does the Book of Boba Fett get from you? Let's be honest.
I'd probably give it. I mean, it would have been even lower had it not been for the Mandalorian episodes. And so I'd say maybe it salvaged 5 dark sabers for me because this would have been ranked very low. I thought the start of it, as I kept mentioning on stream, I was very disappointed. I had much higher hopes. What I saw, I thought was atrocious.
You were down on it. We were all a little down on it in the beginning. I think
I was down hardest. I was very down.
You were down the hardest. I think the first episode was kind of neat, and we saw a lot of cool stuff. I think Templar was pretty high on it early. I think Templar was high on it early. And then I think there was a lull where we were all kind of like, where's this thing going? Other than the train droid who looked like General Grievous, who was amazing.
Right.
So
to me it would have only had a few dark sabers, right, if it would have stayed at that level. But then the final few Mandalorian episodes really saved it for me. I really thought the first one, the first of the Mandalorian, like that was great. I really enjoyed that. It was suddenly a jump in production value, in story, in acting. Everything was just suddenly better. And I found myself again just enjoying the series all of a sudden. It was great. So to me, it's like if I were just to rank it as like what Jedi John gives it like 7.5, that's probably how I would rank like the last 3 episodes. I thought were very good at 7.5, 8, much higher.
Yeah, I would say that for me personally would get like an 8 or more for me. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so, but the first ones, I just personally was really down on. I think my hopes were too high, and so I felt like super let down by it. So I'd say when I balance it all, probably like a 5 or a 6. Yeah, Templar is probably better at a 6.5. I'd say a 5 or 6 probably for me. What about you?
Nope. Pick a number.
5.73.
No, half.
No
half.
doubt.
4.20.
So is it 5.5 dark sabers? Is that what you're giving it?
You know what? I'm in a good mood. Let's give it 6 dark sabers.
6 dark sabers. Yeah. And Templar gave it what, 6.5 Beskar spears?
Yes, Beskar spears. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna give myself. I guess I'll give myself back to tanks. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go lower than both of you. And I think Tyler's gonna be like, oh man, I was trying to be an optimist for the sake of the show. But let's see. I'm gonna give it 5.5 back to tanks out of 10. And
I mean, I said 5 and 6. I ended up at 6. You're going with 5.
It gets 5.5 back to tanks. Nostalgia, the escape of Boba Fett, but there were things that I just couldn't get past. Like they go looking into the Sarlacc, which was a neat idea and a neat scene, but like he escaped with his armor on. And even if he's like really tired, did he really think that when he escaped from the sand, like 50 yards away, that his armor fell off and went back into the Sarlacc? That didn't make sense to me. There's a lot of things. The Power Ranger scooters, the chase scene, the original chase scene through the streets was very cheesy. Again, things
so bad.
That's the one I should have taken. That's still Augie though. That's a lot though.
That's a lot of. That's a lot.
That's a lot, man.
They're huge.
Man.
But see, this is the thing though, man. Like, if you like people, you can give it a 10, man. Like it does. If you love it. Like who cares? Give it a 1. If you hate it, say so. When we're ranking, it's so arbitrary. We're not even, you know what I mean? Like just who cares, right? So 7. So if you think it's 7 bantha dicks, Augie, that's great, man. 7 bantha. That's a great amount of bantha.
You can have all 7 of them.
Here's why it just doesn't get a 6 or a 6.5 or a 7 for me, and it's because the episodes, for the most part, I liked the most. Didn't even have Boba Fett in them. And that's not the Book of Boba Fett. They just did Mandalorian. And I was like, yeah, I like Mandalorian. And Bryce Dallas Howard directed them, and it had the music of the Mandalorian. It was just, they were Mandalorian spin-off episodes. Yeah. And they were the ones I liked the most. But they were awesome. But I have a hard time. It wasn't a Book of Boba Fett. I have a hard time giving it credit for that. The Rancor was the best. It's not Tamara Morrison's fault. Like, I don't fault him as an actor.
I sensed the dark side.
It seemed like he didn't have much to do. It just didn't. I don't know. He didn't do it for me. And so
Boba was boring. Boring Fett.
Not the worst thing I've ever seen. Like for Star Wars too. And Star Wars is so unique where it's not like Marvel. It's like I feel like I love every Marvel movie, but it's I don't know why, but I expect different things from Star Wars. And I feel like Star Wars can be done really well or really poorly. And I think this is an example of mostly poorly. And I think a lot of it is story choice. We've talked about it every episode where I'm like, I don't have to predict what's going to happen. I think we'd all agree that we all have in our heads what we think is going to happen. And if that doesn't happen, I don't think something instinctively is bad. No. But when I look back and say they could have done this 1,000 different ways, as we're talking about the Grogu re-entrance in the finale, instead they just like have the lady show up with him and he jumps and they're like, "Whoa, we're at a war scene, Grogu. Oh, what are you doing here?" It's like that reunion should have been important. It should have been emotional. It should have Grogu should have saved him. So many other ways they could have done that would have had the audience in tears, and they just botched it. Like from a writing perspective, they just. I know, and I think where it's different for me with Marvel too, I'm way more invested in Star Wars, and so like
again, I go in with higher expectations.
You want it. You want it to
right, and so
you know what they can do. You know what they can do. Yeah.
Exactly, and so that also, though, that as everyone knows, that also sets you up for bigger letdowns. I mean, like whenever I'm recommending a movie or TV show to anybody, and I really like it, I never tell anybody like this is an amazing show and I freaking loved it. I say, you know, it's pretty good. You should check it out, because you don't want to overplay it, because you don't want anyone to go in with high expectations, because it's so hard to live up to. And the thing is, you know, falling in love with Star Wars and being such a Star Wars fan for so many years, my expectations of what Star Wars can be and has been and stuff is really high. Whereas Marvel, I just don't have that same thing. It's more like I kind of watch a Marvel movie, and if it's good, I enjoy it. But like Star Wars, I like want it to be so good, and I'm expecting it to be so good. So my expectations are too high.
Pick it apart,
and that's partly that's my fault. Again, that's not their fault. That's my fault for doing that. But it's just I want it to be so good, and like we talked about here today, it's like, and there are definitely scenes that they can do better, and there are things within the Star Wars world that for some reason they still haven't explored. And we're in 2022 now, and it's
do the High Republic, do other stuff.
There is so much cool shit they should be doing and bringing out. And again, what we've talked about before, when you think Star Wars, like, what do you think about? You think about Jedi and Sith and lightsabers, and we're spending so much time on like Mandalorians and bringing back out. Maybe Andor is going to be a great show, right? But it's like, that's not what you think about when you think about Star Wars. And there's a million stories from the books, from the comics, things that people have talked about for years, for stories about the Jedi and the Sith and the history of that they should have movies and TV shows in production on, and they don't. And I don't understand it. I don't
just keep trying to fit in these stories for everything that we kind of already know, and giving us explanations for stuff we don't need. But it kind of reminds me of like when Marvel makes movies about like characters that don't really have superpowers. It's like, why do people watch Marvel movies? It's for superpowers.
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, Black Widow was a fine movie. It was okay. But it's like, the reason it didn't kill it is because Black Widow is just a person. And it's like, if you're watching a Marvel movie, you want to see Thor lighting people up, right? You know, you want that. Right. That's what you want to see. Or you want to see Iron Man flying around blasting people. Like, that's you. Or you want to see Thanos snapping the gauntlet. You know, like, that's what you want to see. You don't just want to see an action scene. So, all right. Well, that's I think that's it for the Book of Boba Fett. 5.5 back to tanks, 6 dark sabers, and what in Beskar 6.5 Beskar spears.
Beskar
6.5 and 7 Bantha from Augie.
Beskar beers.
God, we need to be more creative with how we're ranking those, because Augie had the best one. Well
Augie
done.
Had the best one by far.
Well done.
Okay, so let's talk next week now, Tyler.
All
I don't think you were in this chain. Temple and I were talking. Now, we were talking about getting back into trivia a little bit, because we've got a little lull before the shows. And so now Templar pitched an idea of he prepares questions. And then you and I compete. And now what I said, here's my counter proposal to the Templar, which I don't think I've said anything, is because what we talked about doing was Mando Season 1 trivia, and then Mando Season 2 trivia, and then Book of Boba Fett trivia. So that would give us 3 more weeks to do trivia while we're waiting for more stuff.
That's a lot to watch and study for.
Which is why, one, I think it would not be in-depth trivia like the movies, because the movies are 2 hours and we've seen them 1,000 times.
I say that we can't do the trivia we did for the movies.
It'd have to be easier, higher level trivia.
But Google search trivia.
I was going to say Tyler and I work together against Templar. So Templar could put together the questions, and Ty and I could talk through it, and then we would come to a final conclusion, and we would answer every question as a team against you.
That's very
What do you think about that?
That's very interesting. So we could kind of set the rules, kind of like what we had done, like for our trivia competitions, on what types of questions we can have, and then Templar tries to write them, and we can do like an over under how many we're going to get right, and so we're kind of competing against Templar's questions.
That's interesting. We'd have to tweak the rules a little bit, because we can't do the in-depth
Jedi Master ones.
The in-depth Jedi Master level questions. Right. Most stuff's not in canon yet if it's not named in the show. So it would have to be more like Padawan and Jedi Knight level questions.
Right.
Like that's what it would have to be.
Yeah, which we can
maybe
do.
Like 10 Padawan style questions and like 5 Jedi Knight style questions.
And I have the chat on my site too, right? The chat, I can utilize the chat to throw you guys off anytime I want.
Well,
Right.
or we would utilize the chat,
And we
to
can
help
try to
us.
utilize the chat
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I like that. I like that. So we can work as a team, try to pool our knowledge, because that makes more sense too. Because the season, that's a lot to try to study for. And we would take one movie, and again, I was like, for 2 weeks, because remember, one week we were writing questions for a movie, so it'd be 2 weeks of watching it a million times, of reading the visual dictionary, of going on Wikipedia, and like hours
this
and
would be
hours
higher
and hours.
level trivia.
Yeah.
So,
that
what I'm
that
thinking
sounds
is
good.
like,
I like that.
if we do, for example, if we do next week Mando season 1, if that's what we're gonna do, Templar could prepare the questions, and like he and I can set it up tonight or tomorrow on Instagram. We can chat and get the exact rules and how we're gonna do it.
Yep.
And then that would give you and I at least a chance to watch season 1 one more time each. Right.
Okay.
And that should be enough for us to hopefully get a majority of the questions. I don't think we would be going and thinking that we're just going to bat 1,000. You know what I mean?
Why don't we test drive it on Book of Boba Fett, since we just watched it? We'll test drive the formula there with that, since we've all just watched it. It's pretty fresh.
We could do that.
Good. Yeah.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to do it. Well, yeah, and it's still kind of,
since we all hated the show, and
we didn't
clunk through a great show? Why clunk our way through Mandalorian? We can clunk our way through.
I feel like the general consensus is everyone was like,
Right. Well, I thought, again, I just thought, to me, it was a gradually increasing line, and then just a little drop off at the end, but it got way higher towards the end, much improved. So yeah, I don't know. We can all talk. We can chat on Instagram or whatever, figure out which one we want to do. We can hash out the rules. But I like that. All right, so we're gonna do trivia next week. We can announce whether
Tyler and I are gonna work
or
instead of against each other as a team.
Look at that, for the first time. Normally, we're always working.
We don't normally
each
team
other.
up.
This is gonna be great.
Team up. It'll be fun. Maybe we could do something on the line, like we could, pick an over under of like maybe how many we think we're gonna get right or something. Have something on the line, and try to create some stakes.
There's humiliation.
Right, but like maybe do a humiliation on the line, but maybe
we got to get so many points. Not go perfect, but we got to get a certain amount of points.
We have to get a certain amount of points in order to avoid humiliation, maybe. Okay, I like it. We can bring back some of our old routines, maybe do a little sign off. Let's go crazy. Let's go nuts.
Let's just say now, let's do Boba. Boba is hot. That's what everybody's talking about right now.
Boba? Let's do Boba.
Book of Boba Fett trivia next week. Let's do that. Templar against the BookBarBros. He will prepare questions to try to stump us, and Tyler and I will work together to defeat him.
I've already pulled it up on my tablet. I'm already watching it right now in preparation.
He's already started rewatching episode 1.
Oh my gosh. I am coming to win.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I'm going to have to rewatch all that too.
You are.
Exactly. You just shot yourself in the foot right there.
That's what you signed up for, buddy.
All right. That sounds great, gents. All right, man. And then, so are we going to announce the winner next week of the
bust?
Of the bust?
Yeah, let's do it at the start of next week's live. We'll have the wheel of names like we do, so we can go through, verify everybody who participated. Obviously, we're not going to have tons and tons of people, but we can do it really quick at the beginning of next week's show.
Yeah,
good.
And actually, I just heard Frederick is back in town. He has been on vacation in France, so maybe I don't know if he will.
Great news.
I don't know if he will, but I could give him a call and just see if he'd hop on, maybe do a little fact check for us. A lot of catching up to do.
He's got his work cut out for him in the Book of Boba Fett too, because there's a lot of facts in there that aren't
a lot of
really
facts about
questionable.
He's going to give a 1-sentence report that says the show is false.
Everything is wrong about everything.
Everything is false.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it for the Book of Boba Fett. Thank you so much, Templar, for joining us. We appreciate it, and look forward to Book of Boba Fett trivia next week live. Are we moving back to Tuesday nights? Or is that what we're gonna do? Is that good for you, Templar?
Doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me at all.
For me.
Okay, let's go back to our normal night. Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. So next Tuesday, what is that going to be, the 15th? Next Tuesday, the 15th. So Tyler and I are losing one day to study.
That's all right.
Book of Boba Fett trivia.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That's our show. Appreciate everybody for hanging out. And until next time, we'll see you. Book of Boba Fett trivia.